Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining me on Full Throttle Drive. If you are new to the channel, this is my 2008 Audi R8 V8. And I've had it a little bit over 2 months, and in that time period, I put 1,945 miles on it, and I absolutely love it. So for my current viewers and possibly my new viewers, I wanted to share what it's like to own, drive, and absolutely enjoy a vehicle like this. Whether you're in the market or just curious, I hope I can answer most of those questions. So I'm going to do a huge comprehensive overview of my R8. So first off, let's talk about the technical specs of the Audi R8 V8 that I currently have. It is a V8 with 420 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. And even though it does 0 to 60 in just a little bit over 4 seconds, a stock 2018 GT Mustang will outrun this in the quarter mile. And I think that's why a lot of people give it the supercar, quotes. They say that, hey, it does not have that much power, and it is true. I think my C6 that I had before this is just as quick as this vehicle. But there's a lot more that goes into a supercar than just the speed. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the technical specs of my Audi R8. Now, it is a V8 and it puts out 420 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. It will do 0 to 60 in just a little bit over 4 seconds, and it will do the quarter mile in 12.8. Now, a lot of people say that the performance of this vehicle is very lackluster, which is understandable. A 2018 stock GT Mustang will outrun this in the quarter mile. This is a much more expensive vehicle than that. But there's a whole lot more that goes into it than just performance. You see, in the last 2,000 miles that I've put on this vehicle, I've come to realize that this car has a whole lot of soul, a whole lot of refinement that has gone into making this. This is not a machine-built vehicle. It is mostly handmade. And while they put out thousands of vehicles a day, from many of the high production vehicles such as a Mustang, even all the way down to the Corvette, which makes more than 50,000 models a year, this vehicle, they put out about 20 to 25 models a day. That's a much lower number. That's why they are rare. They don't have the high production volumes. It takes them much longer to make each and every single one. There's so much detail and so much time. That all adds to the refinement that you get. I didn't understand that before I owned this vehicle, and I will say it's what has very much so stuck out in my mind as I've gotten used to this vehicle. Now, when you step into the Audi R8, you can tell the detail and the refinement that went into making this vehicle. Even after 10 years, everything feels so nice. It feels like a great place to be. The dials do not feel outdated. It all looks so modern, and it's sleek. It just is something that is timeless and works. Other than the Audi navigation, which is outdated, it doesn't look outdated in look. All the materials that they used are nice. They're not plastic that shows heavy uses of wear. Even if I had more mileage, this would hold up exceptionally well. There's very, very little plastic to be found. Now, I do have the upgraded leather dash, which makes a huge difference, but it's amazing that after even 10 years, having that rich smell is incredible. I still can smell the leather as I get in, and that just adds to the enjoyment of driving this vehicle. Now, I didn't purchase this vehicle for the sound system. I definitely purchased it for the noises and the sounds that the engine makes, but it does have a Bang & Olufsen system, and it is very, very good. It is the upgraded system that came with the Audi Navigation Plus system, but I am very, very happy with it. In addition to that, I did get rear and front parking sensors. That makes a big difference, especially when I'm pulling up to a spot that I can't see. You gotta remember, you're very low. You're going to hit any type of concrete barrier, especially one of those stopping points in the parking lot. So having a backup and a front sensor is very, very imperative. Now, I won't get into much of the other things other than the nice creature comforts that you have, such as heated seats, which again, for 10 years old, not bad. And then I even have the mag ride, which is a very, very huge plus with the Audi R8s. it can be a very expensive fix, but at the same time, it works very well. I'm very impressed with that system. Keeping it in the comfort mode makes all the difference on a long ride home. If I push that button when I want to do in a more of a sport mode, you notice immediately all the imperfections in the road. So I'm very, very happy with that addition. Now, probably one of the best parts of owning a car like this is the amount of attention it gets. And it gets very good attention. I've had no bad remarks by people that I've actually spoken with, and most people seem to love it. With the C6, that's one thing I never noticed with the Corvette. People didn't really talk to me about it, they didn't bring it up. Here, I'll drive into a gas station, and again, many people will come up to me and talk to me about the vehicle. They want to see it. I've had people ask if they can sit in the vehicle. I love being able to share this car with other people. So that adds to the enjoyment of owning this vehicle. So what really makes a supercar is the character it has, and this car has tons of it. Again, people just flaunt to it. They really are impressed with the design. And I cannot tell you how many people I've talked to that after looking at this vehicle that aren't really aware what it is and they just want to talk about it. They don't realize the car is 10 years old. They have no idea because it looks so good. It stands out. It has a unique design that just isn't replicated anywhere except for the R8. And honestly, in my humble opinion, I feel that is what makes cars super. That is what makes cars set apart from your typical car. I have no problem with Corvettes. I love Corvettes. I have no problem with Mustangs, Camaros. What I think sets this apart obviously isn't the performance. It's the character that the vehicle has, the detail it has, its capabilities of what it can be, and it is just beyond amazing. And I have come to realize this as I've owned the vehicle. It's even more than whatever I expected it to be when I first bought the car, and it already had a high pedestal to hit. Now, owning a car like this certainly has its drawbacks. One of the things I've noticed that as much as I love the attention that it brings and the people I get to meet, is when I drive it, I get many people that will follow me. And a lot of times they'll follow very, very close because they're trying to get pictures or videos. And when they're doing that, a lot of times it's the driver and they are not paying attention. I can't tell you how many times I've had to be the one to do an evasive maneuver just to get out of the way as someone crosses the lines not realizing that they're coming out of their lane. So you have to be a very focused driver. And so that does change the aspect of how you drive it. Another thing is certainly the cost. This car does not come without very, very high costs. And I paid just a little bit under $80,000 for a car that's 10 years old. It does only have a little over 10,000 miles on it. However, that is a high, high cost, and it has no warranty. Fixing parts is extremely expensive, and a car that sits this low has many problems with hitting debris in the road. And fixing a front bumper or a rear panel for any type of damage that's happened can be very costly. There's just such a gouge factor, and by that I mean everything you do to this car or have done to it has an exponentially higher cost than it really should be. A perfect example is the exhaust on this car. Now, I've shopped around for exhaust, and you immediately see the gouge factor that happens. A very nice exhaust that I put on my Corvette was $1,800. There's some exhausts that go up for $2,500, $3,000. A good exhaust on this is $5,000 to $6,000, not including the $2,000 in labor. So you could have a $6,000, $7,000 bill just to get a new exhaust swapped out on an Audi R8. It's outrageous. But one thing I will say, as I've owned this over the last 2 months, is the pros far outweigh the cons. I really cannot tell you the joy it brings every time I turn the engine over and every time I get in the car. I just want to drive it all the time, and unfortunately, even though I've driven it a ton in the last 2 months, I haven't driven it as much as I want to. I would love to drive it all the time. It makes me want to drive even when I don't need to drive, just for the fun of it. And that is the joy you should be looking for in a car. If you're looking to own one, that is the joy you should find. And I will say, I have certainly found it in this car. And that joy is what actually transitions straight into being super. That is where I feel this car is super. So all the people that don't think this is a supercar, I get it. The performance may not be there. It may be an older vehicle. It may not have some of the specs you are looking for. But in my honest opinion, this car is every bit of super. It exceeds in every range that I expect it to. And it is just a beautiful, beautiful car to go along with it. So I think that will wrap up today's video. If there's anything I didn't cover that is just a basic question on the Audi R8, please drop it below. I'd be happy to answer anything you guys have for me. I will do a more in-depth review over the different specs of the car as far as the interior space and different like that, but I wanted to talk about what makes this car so unique, what makes it so special, and why I enjoy it so much. I'm so happy that this was my choice, and I hope to have it for a very long time. Especially even if I buy a C8, I would still love to have this car. We will see. You never know what the future holds, but I will never regret owning this vehicle. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. As always, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and like this video if you found it interesting. Take care and see you next time.